who can push it the furthest. And I had some pretty close to death experiences, bro, through overdose, not being authentically confident as a young kid is a big part of my story, because now I walk into rooms, I'm fucking confident. You know, I know who I am, I know my value, I know what I stand for, and that's what, like, I've cultivated my sense of self. That change, that crash out, fully changed the trajectory of my life, because I went yes to healing and not just going through the motions of self-destruction and not facing and being honest with myself and my ignorance of, or lack of, awareness. I'm obviously a new father, as you're both aware, and the adversity that we face stepping into that initiation into fatherhood, which I believe is probably one of the biggest challenges a man can face in his life. And the same goes for a mother or a woman transitioning into motherhood and transitioning to parenthood, let's just call it, you know?
Yeah, so adjusting to just being a father, huh?
Yeah, that's definitely the latest thing for sure, man. That's been, a beautiful journey, man. And it's been a welcome journey, you know, like I was hanging for it. It was a very conscious decision between Yoshi and I to conceive a baby. We were on that journey for 12 months. And when the baby came, bro, it was the best thing ever, you know, like things really started to shift and change. I was able to conceptualize up until like during the pregnancy, but it was nothing like when I held my baby girl in my arms, and that has been an incredible journey.
Nothing can prep you for that.
Nah, like, look, I think I've had this conversation with a couple of people, man, around like, that sort of stigma around like nothing can prepare you, you know, like I think for sure nothing can prepare you for the challenges in parenthood. But I think the work that I did prior to having the baby, or us having the baby, prepared me for the ability to communicate really well with my partner, to be able to understand the different energetics that play within myself that enable me to be a really supportive partner, you know, not just being a provider in a physical, tangible sense, but being able to provide a safe space for in an emotional sense, you know what I mean? Like that's the preparation that I think men considering going into or starting fatherhood or having a baby should be giving energy to. Yeah.
100, you hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah.
The females crave the safety more than even the protection. Like, well, protection provides safety anyway, but the safety is just everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually reflecting on this on the car on the way here, you know, and like, I feel like energetic safety, like as a man, not losing our cool, staying centered, staying calm, being able to hold it down when the stress comes, and creating that safe environment on an emotional level, I think is equally as important, or if not more important than just providing like a physical protection, you know, like especially for children and for the mama, you know, obviously for the mum especially, because having that regulated, safe environment is gonna, the child is gonna feel that, especially in those younger formative years. So I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and then like they feel safe. They can feel just rest assured to just focus on the baby. They don't need to look behind them.
Yep.
You know,
and feel safe to express their emotions. Yeah. The women naturally are way more emotional, feel much more than men naturally. I think that's just the essence of the feminine. And I feel like a lot of men don't know how to hold that, or can't really empathize with their feeling, and it can be overwhelming, and there can be feelings of like, I can't deal with this right now. But yeah, it's important that we at least try and cultivate that side of ourselves, because we want our women and our children to be expressive. I think it's super important, you know, coming from a household where expression or sharing my emotions wasn't as welcomed in a sense. The age-old kind of like, men don't show their emotions, or we shouldn't be vulnerable or show our feelings. I definitely was a bit like that in my household. And that was, how I kind of got into this work of like, it's really important to express myself. So I'm not suppressing certain parts, because I feel like the more that we suppress things, that, they will end up like, it's like a shadow. It'll end up kind of like taking over or blowing out in a way that's unhealthy. Yeah.
How did you get to this point? Like, what's the story of Adam Pipa? Like, how have you gotten to who you are today, to be, you know, this aware?
I think there's been many moving parts, man.
you want to go from the beginning?
From
let's
the
get
birth,
a bit of
from the birth of
childhood
Pippa.
and
Yeah.
Let's see your
get to know
story.
Pippa.
So I'm one of 3 boys. I'm a middle child. My older brother Jake is 21 months older than me, and then my younger brother came 11 years after me. So there's quite a significant gap there between the brothers. From what I've understood from talking to my parents around like early childhood, I was actually pretty quiet. My brother would speak for me a lot, and he was like very protective of me and things like that. And then growing up, like those early childhood days, I lived a really beautiful life. You know, like my dad provided a lot of like adventure and joy and happiness for us in those younger years for sure. It got me into like camping, got us into like motorbikes and things like that. So I'm blessed, man. I had a really beautiful life. You know, I'm really grateful for the experiences that my father enabled us to have as children, you know? So really outdoorsy, man, always been really connected to nature and love that. And that's a big part of my life at the moment. But yeah, I think when the little man came, like fast forwarding a little bit, because childhood was good. Like I said, 11 years later, he comes, and it was definitely a spanner in the works. You know, I don't think that it was necessarily like a planned birth, but what a blessing he has been and is to all of our lives. But I think there's this middle child syndrome that people speak about, and being a middle child, I can definitely relate to some of the aspects of that, like feeling like I kind of went into the background a little bit. A lot of attention on the eldest child to be doing well and making sure he's good, and then the younger child is in his formative years and needing. And then for me as a middle child, I kind of just felt like I was not as focused on in a sense, so the attention wasn't there, and I feel like I created stories within myself around not feeling like I'm enough or worthy or seen and things like that. I was pretty much given free reign, which was mad. I loved it. But I got myself into, some tricky situations, I guess you could say. Like I just felt a little bit too much freedom almost, you know? Like give a dog an inch, he takes a mile kind of thing.
Elaborate on a tricky situation?
I think I just started, because I was able to kind of just run free. I connected in with, I guess you could say, some unhealthy sort of kids my age. And I guess this goes into not having real healthy role models around. I think I'll touch on some bits that I think caused that. So I think the first thing was my dad has 3 kids now. He was in those earlier days really present and active with us, like I said, with the camping and stuff. But then as we were getting older, Seth was thrown in the mix. There's obviously more pressures that come with being a father and having more children. He was just working, bro. He was working real hard. And although, like I said, he provided for us on a physical sense, he wasn't really there emotionally. And I think as a child, it's something that I really, really craved, to be connected to my old man. And he he didn't speak too much. I think another threat, like men don't really speak about their struggles, especially elder men who are in fatherhood, especially their generation. So I felt very disconnected from like masculine figures in my life in general. My older brother was going through a lot of shit as well. Got bullied really heavily in high school, in primary school, and then in high school he became a antagonist for me. He kind of became a bully to me, bro, which was really difficult. So I was going through all these things, not connected to my father in a really emotional sense. And then my brother, who's someone that I've always looked up to and been my role model, becomes someone that beats me up at school, abuses me physically, verbally. And I always thought I was the issue. So I carried a lot of pain for a long time, thinking that, I was doing something wrong, although I just wanted to be loved and accepted. So I developed a lot of traits around people pleasing, around wanting to be accepted and loved, because I didn't really feel like I was accepted and loved within my own family unit, especially between the males. And another key point is, like, my brother and my dad are born 2 days apart. They're both Capricorns, born in January. Yeah, so they're very similar. And even in like when they were growing up, my brother's always been super hands-on, and I've always been a very I was in performing arts. So I was more into like the creation, the embodiment side of things, always moving, where my brother and my dad are very logical and mental. So it was another piece of that puzzle of like not really fitting in, yeah? So coming to high school, I'm feeling a lot of pain, I guess, and numbness within myself. I didn't really feel like I fit into like being a young, trying to figure out what a young boy or a young man is, right? So I'll wind it back so I can give you, I guess, I know I'm a bit like all over the place, but
good.
you know, this is the beauty of telling the story, I guess. So primary school, I'm in performing arts. I was dancing for 8 years, bro. I was in jazz ballet, tap and hip hop were my disciplines in dance, and I was very into my body, and I loved being in those environments. So I'm about grade 5, grade 6 now, and my mum enrolled me into tap class, and I was the only male in the class. And now you think about all of our times, I guess I'll own the story, but like that time from grade 6 transitioning into high school, you got all these hormones are coming up. It's like you're trying to figure out, I was trying to figure out what it means to, how I like navigate myself through this world and who I am and all these questions, I guess, at a young age. But I think looking around and thinking about all the different cliques and how boys are and how I wasn't really fitting into that mold, right? So I developed a real self-consciousness within myself because I was so different to what I was seeing around me from these other teenage boys. And I had a few incidents at primary school where I was bullied for, you know, I'd be singing and someone would come up and, you know, tell me, you know, oh, you're making all these funny faces when you're singing, because I was passionate, bro. I was singing, you know, when you're singing, you're really in it. And so I just kept like feeling, pretty disconnected from the mold. So going into high school, I remember at TAP, I got really sad. I started crying at one of the classes because I just felt really, I didn't want to be there. I don't want this to be my identity anymore. Like the creative kid, the performing arts kid, I wanted to fit in with the rest of them, right? Because that's what we crave as humans. We want to fit in. So yeah, I mean, I remember the tail end of like grade 6, and I just started like wanting to do more sports and wanted to be bit rough and tumble. You know, I remember getting into my first fights in grade 6 because I wanted to kind of prove myself as a man. So transitioned to high school. It was all about being popular. It was all about being popular, fitting in and having, I guess, validation externally. So when I go into high school, I became the joker. I put the masks on. I was hurting inside because there was parts of me that I was suppressing, but I didn't want anybody to see that. I was like, I'll get a chance.
How aware were you in that moment? Like, do you remember if you were actually aware of that, or do you just looking back know you were hurting?
Looking back, it took at that point in time, I'm unaware of like archetypes and masks and psychology. You know, this has been a learnt journey for me when I've unpacked my story and been like, oh shit, that's what happened. You know,
which everyone in your school was probably doing the same thing though, because everyone's trying to fit in. You just probably played the game the best.
100%. Yeah, I was good. I mastered the game. I was a popular kid, and that's because I became the joker and the jester, and I was quite athletic and whatever. So, you know, it was like one of the cool kids. And then I'm not even going to mention the school, but the school that I went to, and I was looking up at my brother was already there for one part, and I'm looking at all the year levels above me, and there was a lot of kids that were doing a lot of drugs that were seen as cool. So there was a lot of drug taking, a lot of like womanizing from a male perspective. So I'm looking at these guys and thinking, oh, that's the way.
What were some of these drugs that they were taking?
Mostly, I mean, it started as marijuana, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, probably the normal 3. And then as the years went on, the drugs became harder, from ecstasy, MDMA, speed, ice. But this is obviously later down the track.
Yeah.
But this is all from, like, for me personally, looking at these kids, I'm thinking, well, that's cool. So I'm kind of going to follow in that suit.
That was the character you were embodying.
I wanted to be cool. And they had all the attention on them. They had the girls chasing them too. So I was like, oh, that's how we get it. That's how I get it. And on top of that, my older brother had this restructuring of his identity in high school. So he became a bit of a cool guy, but he was getting mixed up with, you know, bikies and things like that. So I was exposed to these worlds of, I don't know. I mean, I would call it toxic masculinity through and through, you know, not that I like to throw that word around, but basically I think that's what it is. It's like aggression, it's drug taking, it's it's all just a big facade, really. I feel just like dominating environments in a really unhealthy way. So I felt like I was exposed to that, and followed suit. I started my journey was like I was numbing myself from about, I think I started smoking weed 15 years old. I remember like going out after school, started smoking weed, started doing what I saw was cool, and I did that for quite a while. So super disconnected from my body, my emotions. It was just like all masked through substance abuse, basically from about 15 to like 23, 24 years old. It's a long stint, man, of just going out, getting pretty messy. But the thing that was fueling that was that people loved to see me in that way. And it was, people perceived me as this charismatic, confident person. And I think, at the end of the day, ultimately, I definitely was not that. That was all perceived. That was all a mask. That was all, you know, a character that I was playing to get that validation. Yeah. I can keep rolling, I guess.
Yeah, it's a role that you played. You played it well. It's the way people perceived you. So that's all that really exists in that moment anyway.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, and until it was the fact that my internal introspection about who I am kind of came online. I guess I know I had this rock bottom experience, and I guess that is when things changed.
Was that through school or after school?
So 2010, I'm in year 10, my parents separated. I knew that was a big pain point for me. That was really difficult, and the usage got even more. There was more numbing, and I really didn't want to feel anything. And then we started going out, finished high school. My parents actually ended up getting back together, which was nice. But yeah, finished high school and fully lost, disconnected, partying really hard, working very, very little. Ended up doing my pre-apprenticeship as an electrician. Started working as a apprentice on a commercial site, and I was making pretty good money. I was making like $800 to $1,000 a week as a first year apprentice, which was amazing. And I started getting all this money, but I was just partying so hard. Like I remember getting paychecks and it would just go. So we started going out, started exploring doof culture and things like that, which played a big role in bringing parts of me online around my expression and things like that. But ultimately, when I first started going to those things, it was just how much I could write myself off because I was seen as that guy. So it was like, it was me and a couple other guys that were just going hard, and that was like, who can push it the furthest? And I had some pretty close to death experiences, bro, through overdose. Pretty scary stuff, bro. Very sketchy stuff, like psychosis, flip outs, all that kind of thing. Wow. And through taking psychedelics. And I'm in deep reverence to psychedelic plant medicine. I think it has a lot of medicine in there, but I do believe that it needs to be treated with reverence and discernment. And it's not something that I do recreationally anymore. It's something that I will use if I'm feeling the call really intentionally to bring stuff up that I may not know that's sitting under, like in the subconscious, because that's what happened during those experiences when I was going out and partying in an environment that I haven't really set an intention. I'm just taking copious amounts of substance, and things were coming up for me, insecurities, and I would just flip out. That as much as the other side of things was just taking so many drugs that my heart almost stopped beating. So,
do you think that plays a part in who you are today, though? The psychedelics, the flip outs.
100%.
Do you think that's what molded you to, one, maybe remove yourself from that scene, and two, become the person that you are today?
Definitely. I think it definitely played a part. I think that there was times when I settled down, And it was actually during COVID where I did this, where I'd had probably like 3 or 4 proper flip outs on psychedelics. And
Do you want to explain, delve into that a little bit?
Yeah, maybe the worst, like one of the, worst experiences.
all right.
Where you knew you were at rock bottom.
Yeah, there was a couple rock bottom experiences. There was one which was really interesting, and this was at Chihuahua Town. And I started dabbling with self-development. At
this point?
I can't remember the time. Yeah, at this point.
Yeah.
None of my immediate social circles were kind of in or aware of this work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was meditating. I'd started, really getting in connection with my body. I was going to workshops and doing ecstatic dances and stuff like that. So I'm getting connected and expressive. And then at this point in time, I was really practicing this my handstands, right? I was getting quite good at them. Anyway, so I go to this Chihuahua Town festival and I'm drinking. I'm intoxicated, and I wasn't drinking much at this point in time, but I went into this environment that was very. I had this kind of relationship with. So I started drinking, everyone around me, all my friends are drinking. So I've caved to the pressure in a sense, like they were pressuring me, but I caved to my environment, started drinking, taking substance, and I took some psychedelics.
What were the psychedelics?
Acid, LSD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, throw things like ketamine, and I smoked a joint as well.
Yeah.
It's like not a great mix, but anyway. Or could be a great mix, depends on who you ask.
Sounds epic. Sounds good.
Yeah. So anyway, there's this guy and he's doing a handstand. Yeah, and he's bossing it, bro. Like he's up there. He was doing different shapes and stuff like that. And I remember one of my crew turned around, one of the boys turned around, they're like, "Oh, Pipa, like you can do that." And I knew in that moment that there was no chance I was able to do a handstand because of what I'd put in my body, because of the substances and stuff. So it spun me, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm capable of that, but in this moment, I can't do that. I can't do what I know I can do because I'm altered or I'm fucked up, excuse my language. So it put me in a spin, and I remember I was walking off, and then I just like started going down this rabbit hole of like, what am I doing? Like self-sabotaging, really, really bad negative self-talk. And it took a turn for the worse, and I ended up going like, well, what am I doing here? Suicidal thoughts. I may as well end my life, kind of thing. And I remember like being there, I had a bottle in my hand and a bunch of prescription drugs, and I was just kind of like, should I just end it? But that was the LSD. When you go down, I feel like a rabbit hole, it can get really dark really quick. And yeah, didn't have the tools in that point of time to snap myself out of that experience of what was becoming my reality. And had some people around me that were able to kind of like calm me down. I think I had like a Valium or something like that, just to kind of take the edge off and shut off some of those neural pathways that were misfiring, let's just say. So that was a pretty bad experience that in hindsight, when I unpacked it, I said, well, yeah, I'm going to pride myself on being this person as like someone who takes care of his body, who's passionate about health, who does these handstands and stuff like that. But if I'm putting myself in environments where I'm using a lot of substance, it's gonna deter me from being who I am. That's not an integral piece of who I am or what I'm trying to achieve in life.
It's so crazy to think like how powerful just one thought or one perception is. Like it's completely altered the whole experience of that moment. But if the thought was like, this is helping me grow, and I don't want to do a handstand right now, but this is a growing experience, like none of that would have happened.
Correct.
But that's like so powerful that like one thought could like flip the whole situation.
For sure.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, the power of like being, I guess, aware of what our thoughts are telling us. In that moment, it was, I cannot.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't. And then that I can't
Yeah,
snowballed into like, what's the point in fucking being here? Which is crazy. So that was one. Another one I'll touch on. It was pretty raw, man. I was at Pitch Music and Arts Festival. Same sort of situation where I was like really, again, practicing self-development.
So was this after?
I think this was after.
Yeah.
I think this was, was this before or after? I reckon, no, this was before. This was before.
Okay.
So again, what I was practicing meditation at this point in time, and I was finding like real deep states of stillness. And I feel like there's so much that the beauty that you find in those spaces of just like pure bliss is what I find. where there's just stillness and there's this feeling of like connectedness to all that is, that's where I was able to start achieving and attaining these states of meditation while I was practicing. And then we were there, we took a high dose of LSD. I don't remember the mix, but I probably double dropped some tabs. At that point, it is quite a lot. And I went out into the field and I meditated with a couple of the brothers. And I was introducing him to this practice. And when I did that on the LSD, the trip became even more potent and powerful. But this is something that I look back on and laugh because I think it's running rampant at the moment in the general public. I had a spiritual ego trip where I thought I became God, like quite literally. I thought I could read the future. I knew what was going to happen. I thought that I knew everybody's secrets, and it was crazy. Like I was all knowing, right? So this trip starts playing out where, you know, a woman approached me and she was like trying to hit on me, and I was just like in this full ego stand, like, yeah, nah, whatever. Anyway, then I was walking around and I thought I got into this concept that I thought that I was God. I thought that I knew the future, all knowing, knew people's secrets. So I'm on the dance floor and I'm fully not present with actual reality. I was in my own world. And it got to the point in the trip where that everybody knew that I knew their darkest and dirtiest secrets, that everybody turned on me. And I remember being on the dance floor and I was like, everyone was bashing me in this trip. So I was like cowering over like this. And then I was freaking people out on the dance floor because no one knew what I was going through, but I'm tripping, yeah? And my mate came up to me to ask if I was okay, and he put his hand on my shoulder and I just clocked him. I just got up, I smacked him in the jaw, and then I just started running. And then as I'm running, I started getting naked because I was feeling like really like dirty and like stuff was coming at me from everywhere. Fully tripping out, bro. And I ended up getting pinned down by cops. They took me into the first aid room and they like subdued me with whatever they put in me. I remember waking up full of guilt, full of shame for that experience. And I kind of just wanted to pack that one away. I really didn't want to kind of unpack that for a long, long time.
You instantly know that you were just tripping when you wake up?
When I woke up, I knew that I fucked up. I knew that I'd tripped out completely, of course. As to
you understand that people weren't actually bashing you though?
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course. But how does our mind know the difference between what's actually happening? I thought I was getting belted, bro.
Why do you think these dark situations are coming up for you? Like, as in, do you think you're just really vulnerable? Do you think it's just the acid? Do you think it's something deeper within? Like, you could have easily had, I don't know if it's easy, but like, if your perception was just like all positive and all good and all loving, do you think that was in your control? Do you think that was something that is in your subconscious that's unlocked that? Do you think that if someone was equally as fucked as you, would they be in that dark place? Or do you think that is an internal thing?
Internal thing for sure. Yeah. And I think that's what psychedelics will bring to the surface, what's really going on under the surface. So for me, to answer your question, I think it was definitely internal. I definitely was struggling with self-worth issues and my expression and then again, spiritual ego, not understanding exactly, like thinking I'm God, you know, I think there's a thread there that we can pull on around how we are all like children of God. And I feel like, you know, it is within us, but I am not it, you know? But yeah, I think for me, ultimately the underpinnings of most of these experiences were grounded in self-worth and self-esteem issues.
Yeah. So essentially you became someone worthy, being God, but then like it got taken away from you, you know, because then you felt like it was like, that was what you wanted. You wanted to be seen. God is all being, all seen. By what you were doing, you became that person that you were trying to become, but it wasn't you being the truest expression of yourself. And then everyone else came and kind of got you.
Attacked me, yeah.
I also believe that when you disrespect God in that sense and you allow your ego to take you that far, there's a lot of repercussions that come with that.
I couldn't agree more.
I
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
You gotta have respect for the creator, and it could be any sect, anything that you believe in, there has to be that respect and understanding that, you know, you're a child of God, or however you want to look at it. But to let your ego take you that far where you think you are God or better than God or whatever it is, there's a level of disrespect. And I see it happen often energetically. There's the yin and yang. There's the other side to it that always kicks in and it shows people reality.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I was shown. Even if I wanted to try and, you know, in this moment, think that I was God, there's no chance I'd be able to hold all of that. You know, my capacity to hold, I wasn't even close. So I was shown, you know, the reality. And I do completely agree with your sentiments around like being in reverence and respect to God and whatever that means to the listeners out there. Yeah. But,
and in terms of even just energy, like you thinking you're God is in certain religions they would look at that as you've been infiltrated by the devil.
Correct.
To make you think that you are God, but it's all just a temptation.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. So yeah, there were a couple of experiences where I obviously had with psychedelics that when I look back on them, they taught me a lot, you know, around integrity, around humility.
I'm sure if you could go back and change those experiences, you probably wouldn't.
I wouldn't. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, they were embarrassing at the time. Yeah, and again, like wanting to push it down and not be like holding the shame around, you know, knocking down one of my best mates, and at the time, it's embarrassing, like I said, but. Yeah, these were I created these experiences nonetheless. I take full responsibility for them. And like I said, there's lessons in everything. I believe that there's lessons in every moment
100%
in life. So I reflected on them and I looked back and unpacked it for what it was that was the trigger and what this experience was teaching me.
There's flow-on effects. So from the higher the experience or the lower the experience, the flow-on effects are even deeper. The repercussions, you feel them a lot more. So they're pivotal moments. So out of these few things that you've explained to us these events are pivotal moments.
Definitely.
And then how did you pivot from there?
Yeah, so there was, again, the pivots, man. So I remember, again, at Rainbow partying, I remember dancing till it was a Monday. I think it was Soleil that was playing, and I love music, and obviously I have roots in dancing and expression. And I remember being there and I was looking around and like my body wanted to move, but I was still holding this kind of like suppression. That's still really suppressing that part of myself. And I remember being like, you know, I want to like explore my body again, like get back into movement and things like that. And I think, like I said, the undertonings of not being authentically confident as a young kid is a big part of my story, because now I walk into rooms, I'm fucking confident, you know, I know who I am, I know my value, I know what I stand for, and that's what, like I've cultivated my sense of self, and that's kind of like how I navigate the world now, and I can step into rooms and like meet anybody in terms of any conversation and feel really confident. But when I addressed that, when I was reflecting on all these experiences, like I said, the underpinnings was of self-worth. That's when I went to work and said, I got honest with myself. And I was like, I'm not confident. I'm not strong. I'm not all that everybody else sees me to be. So I got honest with myself and I went, okay, what do I have to do to go to work on now? And that all came down to self-awareness and building up my mind and my body. But I feel like building my body, I was able to build my mind. And then lots of time spent in introspection, reflecting on my relationships with others, especially my family, and reflecting on my relationship with myself. Like, what is my self-talk like? And then listening to and reading a lot of books.
I feel like character selection, which we all have the opportunity to take, is so important. Like, you can create a character in life and you get to choose who that is. And it's about, what does the character do the character that I want to be, what does that person do? What is he doing? Is he going to the gym? Is he getting up early? Is he doing whatever that character is doing and embodying that?
Right.
So I want to be this person. Right. What does that person do? Before you become that, ask yourself, what does this person do? What do I need to be the character that I want to be? And embody that character. And you can upgrade levels like a game. 100%. And there's levels and you keep upgrading characters. It's like when you, and the harder, like, if you're playing a game and you go straight to level 36, you're never gonna fucking win that game.
don't
You're
have
gonna
the
be struggling.
foundations.
You're gonna be there for 6 months trying to win. You're like, how come I can't get there?
Yeah.
But if you go to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, it's just about slowly progressing.
Strong foundations.
I want to ask, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. That last experience at Chihuahua Town, whatever, was that a pivotal moment for you? Did you was that something that you came out of it and you're like, fuck this, I'm going to be a better person, I'm going to make sure that I don't do that again? Was that when your character kind of came from? Was that experience, that crash?
I feel like it's all of them, bro, put together. You know, I feel like I mentioned before, when these experiences happen, there was a tendency to not want to address it and not want to own it and take responsibility for it. And I think it wasn't until the world created the space during COVID, you know, where people were forced into their homes, and there's only so much that you can do in the comfort of your own four walls. And that's when I really, really started taking stock. I'd been doing a lot of good work, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to discredit the work that I was doing up until that point. But was I really spending the time in honesty with myself and in true introspection and reflection of my experiences in my life up until that point? No. So I really flourished in that time of COVID, where the pressure was put on so many different areas, and I was able to implement the things that I think on a much more regular, consistent basis.
What are those
prior
things?
to that? Getting my consistency with my movement practice, really just going there and being consistent with that and what that looks like.
And what is the movement practice?
The movement practice is for me, I'm trying to move every day, whether that's I'm in the gym 3 to 4 times a week. That looks different. I think it's for me, it's like a game. I've got all this knowledge in terms of movement and training and strength and conditioning and mobility. And I just will go with the flow in terms of what that looks like in a session, 3 to 4 times I'm trying to build my strength up. I'm also trying to be really functional with my movements, a lot of transverse pulling cross-body movements and things like that, more so geared towards longevity and functionality rather than just being strong, although being strong is a really important part of, I think, life in general, of physical practice. But also,
can you build strength through the functional training?
100%.
Is it 2 in 1?
Progressive overload, man, with everything. You know, as long as you're giving your body the stimulus to grow, and you're trying to increase the weight or increase your time or decrease your time, depending on what you're doing, whether it's sprinting or jumping higher, using more weight, like I said, then yes, you're gonna cultivate strength in a sense. Absolutely, I believe that. Yeah.
These days, everyone just knows the gym. It's the most common place to train. Where does someone start if they're in two minds? They're at the gym, but they want to do functional training. There isn't much support. There isn't much, where does someone start if they want to do functional training?
Got to start. I mean, we're blessed to have the technology that we have these days, whether it's getting curious with AI, whether it's going through YouTube platforms and, type in functional training. There's so many people out there that are leading the charge in terms of what it is, what it looks like. And I think, for the people that are curious around it, understand what it means to be functional. It's balance, it's functionality, walking, running, throwing, twisting movements. The guy that I think is really leading the charge on it is Functional Patterns. He's based in America. I don't really know his full name. I always get it. It's Nardi something. His Instagram handle is Lever King. Look, his whole ethos of training is incredible. It's all based around the primal movement patterns of humans. So it's all geared towards running, throwing, hinging, etc. But I don't like the guy at all. Seriously, he's a real wanker. I'll put that on the record. The way that he goes about marketing his services, he just shits on everything, bro. He just shits on everything, and I think it's a really ugly way to go about things. No humility. Is just my way or the highway.
Yeah, I think I know the guy you're talking about.
I don't like him, but his work, there's no doubt that he is doing it. He's talking about training the fascia systems. He's training athletes. It's all pretty leading edge kind of stuff that he's doing at the moment.
And is it stuff you can do from home, or does it require a gym?
You could do it at home with some limited equipment, some kettlebells, resistance bands, but ultimately you want cable machines and stuff like that you can add resistance to, medicine ball slams. yeah, you can definitely do functional training outside of a gym. That to answer your question simply, man, there's so many different ways to do it as well.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, what are some of the other...
Go on.
No, what are some of the other things?
Practices?
Yeah.
Look, I like to, the biggest guy I've drawn inspiration from is Paul Chek. Paul Chek is a holistic health coach in America. He's got a quadrant of 4 in which he breaks up, which I implement into taking stock on like what I'm doing in terms of my practices and my check-ins with myself. So within the doctor movement, which is like the training aspect of things, there's yin and yang, which I love about his framework. It's like there's a regenerative side of things and there's a catabolic side of things, or anabolic and catabolic, you know? So there's certain practices that are going to be output based, which are going to be more catabolic because you were expending energy. And then there's practices that are going to be regenerative and anabolic, where we're actually cultivating energy. So I've spoken to a lot around like the output side of movement and training, which is like the strength, it's the gym, it's the running, things like that. But then there's the other side of the practice, which is the inward cultivating energy, which is like breath work or qigong. So I try and practice those things. I probably could do better at it, you know, because I'm much more geared for the output-based stuff, and I'm comfortable and I can hold quite a lot. But my inward practices 2-3 times a week, some breath work, like really intentional breath work for a little bit for time, not just like, you know, waking up and doing some morning meditation and prayer, you know, although that is an energy building exercise. So that's an exercise in terms of, breath work and qigong and slow regenerative movement. Yeah, nothing that's too hectic. So like breath-led movement. So I'll be deep in my breath, and then I'll just start like kind of rolling the body around and dropping into a lot more like of a fluid. It's actually, for me, it opens up.
I've seen you do it, man.
Spine.
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's incredible. And it does open up all the energy pathways. You know, if I'm doing like the spinal waves and things like that, my back cracks and everything, it just feels it all open up, because all our limbs, it all comes down the spine. So
I always used to wonder how the fuck you were able to do that. And now hearing like your childhood doing 8 years of dance, it makes sense.
It gave me really good foundations, bro.
Sure.
And you speak to that word before when you was talking about embodiment. Yeah, that's something that I think is like super important for people, whether it's about embodying the man that you want to become or the woman, or embodying the feeling and just getting back into the body is like what I'm preaching at the moment, or practicing more than I preach, because you got to do it to speak to it. But yeah, embodiment is pivotal.
And I feel like not many people are even conscious of the embodiment that they're taking on. They're just not consciously making an effort to be the person that they're trying to be. They're just being. And I feel like sometimes you need to like zone out and just like really self-diagnose like who you want to be, what you want to be. It's so important. But
100%.
Like everyone's just like day to day not really paying attention to these things when they're like super important.
Yeah.
Super important.
I think there's the attention that may not be there, or 2, there's attention there and there's lack of action, which is the embodiment, right?
Correct.
So I think that's the other piece. Like you see a lot of people wanting to talk about being a certain way or doing certain things or achieving certain things, but unfortunately, they're not taking action. I think people are really missing the mark there, and it's something that I'm speaking to a lot. It's a lot. You see a lot these days. People talking the talk, but not walking the walk. It's easy to speak. It's easy to say I'm this, I'm that, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But you know, the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day.
And you mentioned it before about like COVID being that breaking point, as in for growth. And I feel like we all went through it. I went through it. I think Jonathan went through it. Like we all kind of had that crash moment, and I feel like sometimes that's what it takes. Like that's why I asked you before, was it that crash that made you better? Because I feel like sometimes you become like too comfortable and like you're only taking a little bit of poison every day, but it's not enough to kill you, but it's there, but it's not enough for you to even like be conscious of it. But sometimes like if you overdose on the poison, you're like, fuck man, I'm gonna stop taking poison altogether.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But just like delve in a little bit, so it's enough to not affect your life, but it's affecting you so much when you zoom out, because you're doing little silly things every day, and it's like, but that's the worst poison. Just a little bit every day, little bit keeping you where you are,
and it can creep in, bro.
But then, that's what I mean. Sometimes a crash isn't a bad thing
Nah.
because it's like, whoa, what just happened? Like, and it changes everything for you. It'll change the projection of your life.
Yep.
But that's why I feel like sometimes like adversity isn't that bad. Like it's bad at the time, but like it's what causes you to crash. And like if you're delving with coke and you're just having a little bit every day and then you overdose, you might stop delving that little bit every day. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes like, not saying go and fucking overdose. I'm saying like make sure you fucking like, if you're gonna crash and burn and like really use that as motivation to become better.
Yeah.
You
You want to go for it?
Yeah, you're right, because if for some people they just dabble with things their whole life and they don't wake up. Whereas someone like you, you're blessed. You're an intense character. So you experience everything on an extreme level that then you've woken up at such a young age. But who's having these conversations at your age?
Yeah.
To be able to have these experiences, learn from it and delve into it, it's exactly what you're saying. By overdosing, it's a blessing in itself.
Yeah, I welcome the adversity, man. I welcome the adversity. I'm a firm believer that without challenge, we don't grow. That's like it's a full stop.
100%.
When I'm running the gatherings that I run at the Warriors Way, it's a big part of it. It's like, let's challenge ourselves. I think the stimulus to growth is challenge. Is challenge,
100%.
and that's why I think the adversity and the crash outs are blessings.
Yeah,
they're
for
welcome.
sure.
In the moment, it's tough to see it. Perhaps I think it's people may talk to you about a tough time, and that when they're in it, and they're like, "Man, this happened," and you're like, "Trust me, it's gonna be all right." You're gonna look back at this and you're gonna be like, "Thank God." Now, and another, I want to rewind, like the pivotal point, like the real pivotal point, the crash out was in 2016 on my Europe trip, and I've spoken to it on another podcast, but that was the moment.
Yeah.
Like COVID helped again, but like that was the moment where I'd broken up with my partner of 2.5 years, who was beautiful and loved me to bits, but I was so unconscious and not like integral man at that point in time. And I took a loan out to go do the boys trip in Europe. I took a 10 grand loan out because I didn't want to miss out, and I was so bad with my money. I wasn't saving anything. So I took a loan out to go there. Then when I went there, I was writing myself off completely with alcohol and drugs. And then I broke my hand on Croatia sail. And after I broke my hand, I had the rest of the trip was booked, not even my own money. And I had to fly home because I needed surgery on my hand. And it was in that moment, I broke my hand in Croatia. My next stop was Greece. I'll wrap the story up nice and quick. Like for the potency of like divine intervention, and I believe this was God's will, that I broke my hand and we go to Greece. And then for some reason I got cousins in Greece, and I hadn't seen this guy in 10 years, I reckon. And I was sitting at the hostel beside myself. I was out, bro, like fully depressed, flat as, no dopamine, serotonin left in my brain from the last 3 weeks of partying. Fucked. And I'm like, man, I got to reach out to my cousin, man. So I just jumped online on the hostel computer, like, hey, man, are you around? I'm in Greece. He's like, man, I'm down to come and see ya. Oh my God, I can't believe, thanks for reaching out. Now, me being privileged in living here, thinking he's going to come pick me up in a car. We're just going to go cruise around. He's going to take me out, this and that. He's like, hey, man, I'm here. I jumped out of a taxi. And I'm like, where's your car? He's like, Malaka, I don't have a car. And I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, I just took all my bags with me. Like, didn't know why, but I just had all my luggage with me. And I told the boys, I'll be back. We were actually taking a ferry to Eos that afternoon. And my cousins, at this point in time, had like long, crazy hair. I was a mess, bro. And he's talking to me on the side. He's like, how you going, man? And I was like, man, he's like, what have you done to yourself? And I was being really honest. I was like, man, I feel like shit. This is what's happened, yada, yada, yada. And he looked at me and he's like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Adam. He's like, who are you? He asked me again, and I just started crying. Because in that moment, I didn't know who I was, truthfully. Like, that's the moment. When someone questioned me, like, who are you? I was like, I don't know. I don't know who I am. And it was that moment on, I cried. I was having this huge emotional release. And then he's like, my brother Nico's getting out of the army today. I haven't seen him in 2 years. He's like, we're all going to meet up together. Come. I'm like, all right. So we went and sat at this corner cafe, and he's connecting with his brother he hasn't seen in 2 years. he's telling me my story, and he goes, Adam, he goes, I've been praying to God to send me a gift, and I believe that you're that gift. He's like, please stay with me here and let me heal you. And I remember, like, I'll never forget this, like, etched in my mind forever. We were literally sitting at a crossroads. We're at the corner, and it was like a road going that way and a road going that way. And I looked at him, and I was just like, yeah, man, like, I'm here, I'm down. You know, I made probably the first time in my life I'd made a conscious decision to say yes to my healing and saying yes to trying to better myself as an individual. And yeah, he introduced the concepts of meditation, of presence to me. He introduced health. I went vegan for like 4 or 5 months, but I'm not an advocate for veganism, but for that point in time in my life, that was like a proper cleanse, like a full reset.
Perfect detox.
Yeah, and I went for it, man, and that's where that change, that crash out, fully changed the trajectory of my life, because I went yes to healing and not just going through the motions of self-destruction and not facing and being honest with myself and my ignorance of or lack of awareness.
It's just planting that seed, man. That's all it was. He planted that seed for you, and it was up to you to water it and grow it into a tree, and it looks like you have. And I think that's all it really takes, is just like that first moment, plant the tree and just give it a go and try and nourish it and feed the soil, and that's what you've done. And it's amazing how like one interaction can like literally change the whole trajectory of your life, which is amazing. It's literally as simple as that, as planting a seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing.
So now that you've experienced that, you've gone with him, how long did you stay in Greece, and what came after it, I guess?
Yeah, so he's introduced these concepts to me. I stayed in Greece for like 2 weeks, man, and then realized my hand was proper broken, my fourth metacarpal, and I don't even think I had travel insurance, bro. So I flew home. I was like, go get some surgery. And then I just remember going home, still keeping up the diet of veganism. And I came home, bro, crazy healing in that 2 weeks that I did with him there, first and foremost, just around like the meditation. It was the first time I had experienced that bliss moment that I spoke to before, meditating on a cliff in Greece, and going home, keeping up the practices of getting up, watching the sunrise in the morning, going for runs. And it was the first time he asked me, he goes, what do you want to be in life? He got me like, up to that point, I had no idea like what the future me looked like. And at that point in time, you know what I said? I said, I want to be a footy player. So I started getting fit, started running again, started taking care of my body, and that's where all those kind of things started rolling on. Got back, had the surgery, cleared stuff with my ex, like I feel like I'd left that on really rough terms. So like a lot around like reaching out to relationships and people that I thought that I had hurt in the past, and I cleared my conscience in that. And started just paying attention to my body more than anything, and reconnecting with that, obviously in alignment with the fact that I wanted to be an athlete, an elite athlete at that. So that's what I started to do. And I feel like in the process of connecting deeper with my body, I started to cultivate confidence. In the process of meditating, I started getting really deep with self-inquiry. I started journaling a lot. I started writing poetry. So because I was sober and I was taking such good care of myself, it's like my channel opened. And I started understanding myself a lot deeper. And I got addicted to that curiosity of self, because there was, the healing journey, it starts. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's like starting to rip back the layers. And it's like, I remember I was peaking, and then I'd just be like, whoa, like this is another level of unraveling or unlearning or deconditioning of things that I'd learned. And I started to create my own understanding and story through the practices like meditation, introspection, and training. And in that's led me to be really passionate about helping other people find out about themselves, because that's what I believe is the key to navigating a really beautiful and healthy life, is having a good sense of self-awareness. I feel like when you know yourself, that no one can fuck with you. Yeah.
Who are you, Adam?
Who am I?
Who are you?
I can be, I am whoever I choose to be, bro. You know, I think it depends on the day that you ask me, bro, you know, but
100%.
It's funny because people ask me that before and I can get jumbled up on words, but I do believe that like we have an infinite capacity to be whoever we choose to be. It's a choice. It's a discernment through actions day by day, you know?
And what do you want to be?
I want to be a role model for men around the world, to be honest. I want to be a man that is embodied in masculine leadership, you know, that's showing other brothers, other men, other younger males as well, like what it means to truly be a man, to walk with integrity, to be a good partner, to be of service to the world, to be a respectful, humble servant of God.
Love that answer.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I could riff on that for ages, but yeah, that ultimately is who I am striving to be and who I am becoming. You know, this is my story of becoming. Yeah.
Do you want to delve into it a little bit more? Because I'm interested, like just in the whole masculinity, the way you're going to lead this.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any questions in particular?
Specifically, like what age could you? What's the youngest age you could work with someone?
Oh, bro, I feel like the younger you get them, the better in a sense, in terms of like instilling respect and good morals into these children. But I'd say from like, you know, it's hard with the teenagers, man. Like I feel like they're still trying to, so much going on. It would be really hard to get there. And there's people like the Man Cave that are going into schools and teaching them things like that. I like working with men closer to our age, you know, because there's a real point of like resonance there, you know. I'm and I don't stand up here and preach perfect. I'm a real man struggling with my own shit, but what age? I think like getting them after high school, bro, when they step into the real world and they realize that it's not all just like pretty cruisy, you know. There's a reality to face around, you know, building a career and whatever, building a business, whatever they are choosing to do, getting into relationships and things like that. And I think it'd be easy to connect with them on the realness of what we're living in as a society and start to implement those things around resilience, integrity, honesty, hard work ethic, but emotional awareness. So these are just, you know, the different threads.
If you had, you know, a couple minutes with a struggling male at 30 years old, what would be your advice?
Struggling male at 30 years old, my advice to him would be to get honest with himself. That's the number one thing I'd say. Like, let's go through a check-in. We're working on a program at the moment, which is called The Power's in Your Hands, and we're looking at 5 different areas of your life in which we take stock on. So getting honest with where you're at in terms of your health, getting honest with where you're at in terms of your expression and how you're carrying yourself throughout the world, like creatively and emotionally, where you're at with your mission, like what does life look like for you in the future? What's your vision? What's your mission? Like what's your purpose here? Like getting connected to that is really, really important for men.
And really hard.
And it doesn't come overnight. But again, you're not going to know if you don't ask the question and spend time in it. And like reflecting on your relationships, relationship with God, relationship with self, and relationship with others. What does that look like? And also I think finances is a really, really important thing to check in on, especially for men who, you know, we carry that a lot in this society, like to protect and to provide. So, you know, checking in around that, getting honest with that, because that's a really important resource to be connected to. So you can kind of move through with a little bit more like less stress, you know, when you know that you've got at least some things covered, the basis of survival at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, we refer to them as like the pillars of life, the pillars to success, you know. And if you feed one of those 5 that you just said too much, you might neglect one of the others.
Absolutely.
Because we only have a certain amount of time in the day, energy. In the week, in our energy. So yeah, it's something that we talk about a lot, and once as any human really, female or male, once you can like identify the pillars and make sure you're feeding each one enough energy, and if you're giving one too much or if you're neglecting one sometimes, it's okay, but to refeed it later on, you know, and always give and take between them. It's the truest expression of success.
Absolutely.
Because you can have all the money in the world. If you haven't worked on the other 4 pillars, it's a disaster.
Probably going to be miserable, or you're going to be sad, or you're going to feel empty. And that's
actually worse because money amplifies all your experiences. So if you do end up, don't get me wrong, it's good to make the money and then work on them. But if you can work on all of them, it's still all right, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's what you're speaking to is like the importance of the regular check-in. Like you don't just check in on these things once and then it's like, oh, that's it. This is a weekly, we're doing this monthly with our group of men that have come through our container through the Warriors Day. And this is the importance of just like regular introspective check-ins, you know, it doesn't just, it's important because you might be tipping into one area and then you feel like when you do that next check-in, you're like, man, my relationships have taken a hit, you know, or my health has taken a hit because I'm so focused on my business at the moment, you know, and knowing when we got to, maybe pull back there, put in there, plant, water those certain trees. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And communicate too. Sometimes communication is key.
Yeah, I put that in like in the relationships kind of thing. Like how
as in to communicate. If you're going to neglect your partner for a while because you're focusing on work, at least just communicating it, not just coming home late.
100%.
You know, and then just things spiral. Communication in between them all is key as well.
100%. Communication is one of the utmost important things that we can cultivate, like healthy communication skills within our partners and within ourselves.
I was going to say the most important communication of your entire life is that your self-communication.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
the most important
self-talk,
thing.
Yeah.
Self-talk is so important.
For sure.
And like being conscious of what your self-talk is and, you know, just constantly like listening to that inner voice, your intuition, and, you know, making sure that you're not delve into negative and you're like, you know, constantly trying to keep that positive self-talk and being conscious if you are starting to like have negative thoughts to pull yourself out of it. I feel like being conscious, I know it's such a wide thing to say, but like all in all, I think that's the most important thing is like being conscious and aware because then like you kind of know what's happening, you know what you're doing. Like Jonathan said, if you're neglecting, you're consciously aware, I'm going to be neglecting you. I'm letting you know. Like being conscious of like all your decisions, and decisions are another big thing. Like making decisions can like completely change the whole trajectory of your life. Like you said, that decision, you had the crossroads. You know, you could either go and party with the boys in Mykonos or you could, you know, stay here and meditate with your cousin. That was a decision.
Yep.
And that decision could like literally shift the whole trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
So like being conscious in your decisions.
Yeah. I think
so important.
The word is discernment. Yeah. Jordan Peterson speaks a lot about it. He said like that's the most important thing. The consciousness is, I feel like it's the awareness of the whole. These are all the parts and all the different avenues that we can take. What are you discerning? Which means like a really well thought out decision. It's like that's the discernment. I'm choosing this because I know that this is going to bring me A, B, and C or X, Y, and Z, you know? Whereas, that's like weighing up your options and making a informed decision.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because that's it. We have free will, like we can do whatever we want. We can choose whatever we want, and our minds can make up the whole story of why that could be a really good thing. But yeah, ultimately, I think intuition is gonna tell you what's right. And
even if we don't have free will, by filling your time with the right decisions, putting yourself in situations where you're growing, learning, meditating, breath work, all these things will lead to better decisions or better self-talk. Better outcomes. Like if you don't have the free will to actually make the decision, but it doesn't.
When
really
would you not have free will?
Yeah, when would you not have free will?
Yeah, I feel like we always have free will. Maybe,
but we don't know.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, I think we do. I think, you know, in the story of you know, if we go to the Bible of Adam and Eve and they're in the Garden of Eden and they've been told not to eat the forbidden fruit. That's that first kind of example of the corruption of the human mind.
Temptation.
Yeah, the temptation and the fact that we can choose even if we know it's not the right thing to do or the right decision, you know, and then that's where I guess faith comes into the conversation around righteousness and the understanding of right and wrong, you know, not in a sense of like judgment. I've got my views and what I believe is right and wrong, but I don't try and project that on other people, you know. I just I do that. That's how my moral compass comes from my faith with God, you know.
Faith is so important. Faith, and always, like for me, my biggest belief, and I feel like it gets me through life, is knowing that I'm exactly where I need to be. And no matter what the situation, like me and Jonathan spoke about a couple of weeks ago, we're like, man, if I was in jail I'd be like not happy to be there, but I would like be at peace because I'm like, this is where I need to be. I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. I love myself and I'm exactly where I need to be and I'm going to grow through this experience. You know,
I know
imagine
exactly what you're
being
saying.
there and like being so unforgiving and hateful and having guilt and like it would destroy you. You would end up with disease, you know, and forgiveness of like what you did and why you're there. And I feel like these are so important, so critical to your life to always understand that I'm exactly where I need to be, no matter how dark the place is, knowing that I'm meant to be here, I'm going to grow from this. One day I'll look back and I'll be like, hey, that was the best thing that ever happened. I say this all the time.
Yeah.
And being in that space, to me, is probably one of the most important things in life. Honestly, embodying that is so important because there's no real high highs, no real low lows. You're just like, I'm meant to be here. I'm experiencing this experience through my lens and I'm enjoying it no matter what it is. You know, so I feel like it's so important.
What I'm hearing there is like trust, deep trust,
Yeah, deep
and
trust.
And a surrender to God. You know,
100%.
that's what I'm hearing. You know,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I've started really embodying that, especially in this last couple of years where I've been deepening in my connection to God.
Yeah.
And that feeling of just like thank you and gratitude in every moment. I'm exactly where I need to be. You know, I know that this is a part of God's plan. I trust it, the source, God, and I surrender to what will be because I know that, you know, it's all part of it. So it's a beautiful thing to embody, and I think it's helped me a lot along my journey when I've gone through darker times and just known that this is all, you know, for a reason. I trust, and I keep coming back to that place of trust, and it's like, it's fuel, bro. That's fuel. That's dry. That's like yes. It just keeps going, keeps rolling, staying in that flow where if I feel that in a moment I can try and push back and resist to the moment or to the challenge and try and look at something else to blame it on other than this is exactly what's meant to be going on, then it becomes a much more difficult thing to navigate.
It's a special talent to be able to be in a moment and just realize you're in a moment. Because sometimes like if I'm in this dark place and like it takes me 6 months to look back, it's good. You're looking back at it and you realize, you know, that was a blessing. That's fine. But if you can embody a person that's in a moment at the present time and say, wow, I'm going through this. I'm fucking going through it. I'm in adversity, but I know in 6 months' time, I'll look back. But you're doing it now.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
100%.
That's powerful, lads.
Yeah.
And that's someone that I've like worked on for like the last 5 years to embody. And I know I'm delving on about like, oh, life's always adversity, but it is. But it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's a big part of life. Your family, your parents are gonna die.
Yeah.
You're gonna have your breakups. You're gonna have adversity. You're gonna break bones. You're gonna, you know, fucking have breakups. So all these things, it's just a part of life.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have your day-to-day adversity. You're gonna have your little arguments. You're gonna have, I'm a builder. I'm gonna have problems on a job site. Like it makes up a big part of life, you know. And being able to embody that is like, to me, one of the most important things I've ever done, ever. And coming to terms with, you know, life isn't easy.
Yep.
You know, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. That's okay. It's all good. I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah. There's a lot of power in that. Like you said, that's a gift, bro. That you know, you inspire me in the way that you handle and navigate adversity. You know, both of you, to be honest, I've known you guys outside of this space for a while now, and you're both very inspiring people to me. But yeah, the fact that the way that you're speaking to adversity, how hard you work, the way that you push through with, I guess, God's grace at your back. You know, you're like, it's a beautiful thing and something that I am working on at the moment because I feel like there's a resilience piece there. Like it's tough and there's adversity and like there needs to be resilience. But I feel like the more you can, or I can release that like hard work kind of thing and just go like, this is I'm doing the work, but I know that this is just the path at the moment. Yeah. It's kind of what I think you were speaking to.
Spot on.
Easefulness.
Yeah.
Easefulness. Like I think, you know, being able to push through stressful situations is important, but to be able to navigate them with a little bit more ease because of that belief that you hold is potent.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's faith. No one's coming out of here alive. You know, we're not coming out of here alive. It's like, just got to have faith and enjoy day to day and you know, fucking just be resilient. Be resilient. So important and have faith. Yeah, very, very important.
Yeah, I think resilience comes from like your faith, your level of faith in God.
Yeah.
It is, man. Because you can just, you know that everything's in God's hands. So, and you can just be peaceful with that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're talking about, while on the topic of like adversity, I think something I'd like to just like introduce into the conversation. I'm obviously a new father, as you're both aware. Bubs is just over 40 days, so 5-6 weeks.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
And the adversity that we face stepping into that initiation into fatherhood, which I believe is probably one of the biggest challenges a man can face in his life. And the same goes for a mother or a woman transitioning into motherhood and transitioning to parenthood, let's just call it, and the adversity that I'm understanding and noticing within that new chapter, and I guess it's just a nice conversation to start to have around, maybe for those people that are thinking about having a kid, we can just like openly talk about it around some of the things that we have all faced in that transition, and I guess any tips or advices or tricks that we've learned along the way.
I think like after this conversation we've just had, having kids brings adversity, it brings stress, it brings like sleepless nights, but at the end of the day, whatever, like take it on the chin, have faith in God and embody every moment, be joyful at nighttime when you walk into their room and just enjoy it. It's like you get to go and hold your kid. Like it's all perception. So you can perceive things in certain ways, but also just like everything we've been talking about, the last hour, adversity is there. So just own it and just do the work as gracefully as you can. And it's never going to be easy, and trust me, like as they get older and they get voices, they start screaming, there's things like that. You just, sometimes you want to react, but then it's being able to not react and then change your perception towards and be like, oh, it's like a song. I'm just listening to a song and try and enjoy it. You're not always you're gonna fall short. It's normal. But if you can have that awareness and know that it's not gonna be easy, when it's not easy, let's just make it as positive as we possibly can. That'd be the ultimate advice, but it's obviously not that easy too.
No, it's a tough journey. I had a tough journey. My partner had postpartum and she was struggling. She had no energy. I was getting up. My daughter was hard. She was getting up at like 3:30. My missus couldn't get out of bed, so I was getting up at 3:30 every single day, 3:30, 7 days a week. My missus was just struggling like hard. So I was getting up. My daughter was up at 3:30, wouldn't go back to sleep. I was then waiting till 6:30. I'd wake her up and I'd go to work from 6:30 till 9 o'clock every 7 days a week. This was at a point in my life, and it's tough. But I knew every day this too shall pass. I have faith. It's temporary. Knowing I was in it, I was struggling, but I was like, hey, this is temporary. Like, there's no point complaining. There's no point fucking dwelling on it. It's just like, hey, let's just do it. And I was grateful. I'm like, man, I get to wake up and say, if I didn't wake up at 3:30, I didn't get to see my daughter because I was fucking hustling. So I was like, instead of being like, fuck you, or why am I going to work? Why am I waking up? I was grateful. In a time where I should have been like, a lot of people would be angry and resentful. I was like, I get to see my daughter. It's perspective, instead of, always being angry, shift that perspective, because that anger is going to hold you inside and it's going to like boil up and cause dis-ease. A lot of people are like, they don't hold on to forgive, like they don't learn to forgive. I feel like forgiveness is a power. It is a superpower. And it's like, and a lot of people think that when you forgive someone, it's probably the most selfish thing you can do. Because you're setting yourself free. People think like you're forgiving someone for them. You're not doing it for them. Yeah, okay, you're forgiving them, no worries, all good. They don't give a fuck. You're the one that's going to hold that inside you. You're the one that's going to have that hatred day to day and keep that inside you and ball it in. And imagine like, there's some people out there that are like having the smallest interactions in their days and it fucking ruins the rest of their whole day. It's like, man, like, just calm down. Like, just forgive, be loving. I feel like, it's so important to just forgive and love and perspective. So I know I've carried on a little bit, but like in the darkest of days and just be grateful for the little one. A lot of people out there, they can't have kids or just remind yourself and be grateful and if there is a situation that you can't control, just shift your perspective to be okay, it's all good. You know, it's all good.
Thanks for sharing that, both
It's
of
a
you.
warrior mentality.
Yeah, bro.
Warrior mentality.
Yeah, well, that's it. You have to.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that thread of forgiveness, man.
yeah.
I think it's a really potent one. People, I know a lot of people that are holding on to a lot of shit, man. And, and
so
you said
ugly.
it really builds up in there. It's poison for the self. You know, and I think
poison.
it's something that
Poison,
the story of Jesus Christ. It's really shines through in his story when he's on the cross and he says, "Forgive them, Father, because they do not know." I mean, this bloke's getting pinned to a cross, you know, and he's telling them, "Forgive him."
Yeah,
Like
it's
that,
so powerful,
the ultimate one of the I'm glad that you brought that thread into it, bro, because I think it's really important to mention and get out into the listeners and whoever. Yeah,
it's a superpower.
It is.
It's literally a superpower. It is a superpower, and it is so important in life, man. Me and Jonathan know this guy. He older fella, maybe like 65. His partner divorced him 38 years ago, and took some money and whatever, and his whole body is riddled in inflammation. 35 years later, he's still talking about it. Like the event happened yesterday. 35 years, this guy is crippled with disease and inflammation, and he's got boils on his skin, and and he's still talking about this event like it happened. And we tried to just convince, like, you just need to forgive. You just need to forgive. It literally ruined his whole life experience. That one little thing of like the act of forgiveness ruined his entire life, 35 years on, and he still has no forgiveness for this person. It's like, and seeing that for me was like, whoa, like, and seeing it for what it really was. It was just one little thing of forgiveness. It literally fucked his whole vibration, and like he's manifesting the worst things in life, and like, yeah, it's terrible. And that was just like one little act could have changed the whole trajectory of his life, just to forgive.
And it goes to show how connected the body and the mind are when it comes to our beliefs around, you know, others, like our projections, or, you know, the things that we're holding, and how that's going to affect our body. Who did I see recently? Gabor Mate spoke a lot about it. Did you guys go and see him?
I went and seen him.
Yeah,
Loved
man,
it.
that was amazing. Yeah, like, not to shit on Western medicine, but the way
Fuck Western medicine.
the way that Gabor spoke to health on a much more holistic level, you know, and speaking about dis-ease coming from things like not speaking your truth and holding on to certain things. Thanks, brother. Certain beliefs, like things about like the women with the thyroid and autoimmune diseases stemming from their inability to actually care for themselves and always giving, so their body turns on itself. I just think, you know, just to segue into something like that.
It's all related.
The importance of like, mental space and body space, mind-body connection.
I think one of the stats was something like if a male is sexually abused as a child, they're 120% more likely to die from cardiovascular disease or something like that. Like, the stats are crazy. I don't want to spitball numbers because I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he was saying something about the rate of you having a heart attack goes up exponentially just by, you know, an event that happened to you when you were a child.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that, but there's also the ability to go back to that experience, that traumatic experience, and rewire the belief around what happened. Because that's what he said. He said,
which is what he talks about.
Trauma is a normal response to an abnormal event or circumstance, you know? And I think that is the healing work, in which when we go back and what we spoke to, I guess, at the start of this conversation, which is like me going back to those experiences and realizing that they were teaching me something, or what was there, what was the story that made me go down that path or had that experience.
Yeah.
And did you forgive?
And I forgive those experiences. And I mean, we spoke about at the beginning, like my relationship with my father, my bad relationship with my brother. I'm in such a good space at the moment because of the relationships around me, especially with my family and with my partner. But big one for me was getting into my relationship with my old man and going back, I was living there, I think 2 years ago. I moved back in for a temporary bit, and it was like we were locking horns because I'm not a little boy anymore, and we obviously trigger each other quite a lot. And we'd lock horns, and then we'd sit down, and we just sat. I coined the term "sitting in the fire." Yeah, like that's where the kind of, I feel like the healing takes place. It's like those uncomfortable conversations that are important to have, to go back there and gain a little bit of perspective.
Yeah.
Stories that I had that my father didn't love me, which was basically more or less the story, to then realizing that my father loves me more than any other person on this planet. And although I didn't receive love in the way that I wish I received it from him, like in that emotional aspect, I understand that it was there the whole time. And the way that he showed his love was through his selflessness, his acts of service for the family. And that is what I find like really, really important in terms of the healing, just like going back and having difficult conversations, addressing relationships, why this person is triggering me, and then unpacking that story, you know, and understand and being able to rewrite it. You know, I'm getting triggered because A, B, and C. Is that really true? Is that really serving me? Yeah.
There's this thing that happened in Sydney quite a few years ago. It was a family, a husband and wife had 5 kids, and someone ran over 2 of their kids and killed them. And the 2 parents were of faith, and they were like probably the most faithful people I've ever seen in my whole life. And they were praying for the person that ran over their kids, and they ended up befriending them and instantly said, we forgive them instantly. And that's what I compare in life now. If someone tries to, you know, run a stop sign and I'm cracking the shit, it's like, man, like there's like, you know, that's the smallest thing that are triggering people for days. But I'm like, man, these people forgived the person that killed their 2 kids instantly. That's what I try and compare my forgiveness with to now. That's the kind of forgiveness that I want to have, you know. That level of forgiveness is what I compare now.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of where I want to be. You know, like that is fucking like powerful, because that could have ruined their whole entire life.
100%.
You know, their whole entire like experience on earth would have been ruined from that experience. Instead, that one powerful thing, forgiveness, changed the whole outcome of their life. They would have held on to that, and I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But they forgave the person that did it. It's so powerful.
Yeah, man. You know? Speaking truth there.
So
Forgiveness
powerful,
is the more you speak about it, we keep putting it in these different scenarios.
There's so many
and
levels
contexts.
of it. So many levels of it.
I spoke to, you know, the story before around Christ, and you're talking about this one before. Like when you're telling that story, I'm thinking now, if someone, you know, if my daughter was on the receiving end of that, like the ability to be able to forgive, I just think, looks like accidents can happen, and I could forgive something like that. But if there was, I feel like if there was like someone out there trying to murder, intentional, bro, I don't think I'd forgive them until they were dead, to be honest. That's my truth.
There's obviously level.
Which makes sense, but also even if you were put in that situation, what then happens is the
you need to
future
forgive
from
yourself
that point
for killing them.
The future from that point on is dictated by, did you forgive or not? And if you don't, then the rest of your, like this guy that Paul's talking about now visits the guy in jail who killed his kids and works with him so he can have faith, so he can spread, you know, and actually visits the guy like regularly, which is crazy.
It's beautiful, man.
But
it's not crazy.
he's able to now live a peaceful life moving forward because he's working with his circumstances, not being resentful towards them.
Full respect to that brother, man. Full respect to that man. And it takes like a certain kind of individual to do that. I don't think anyone can do it, but full respect for that
and he's
individual.
not being a victim of your circumstances. You know, not being a victim of your circumstances and just, this is my circumstances. This is it.
I love what you just said there. I don't know how long we've been chatting for, but I know that we could continue to like keep riffing on this. But that is a big piece, bro, for people, you know, in life, being a victim. I think there's a switch that flicks at some point, maybe never for some people, from I'm a victim of my circumstance to I'm creating my circumstance. Like that for me was massive when that dropped in for me. Don't ask me when it happened because I can't remember, but I just knew it was like, what am I doing? You know, like I guess that story of my old man and me being a certain way was because of the way that bro, fuck it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm taking full responsibility and ownership for what is going on in my life. I'm not a victim to my circumstance. I'm creating every moment here. And I believe that is the truth. You know, we are manifesting, we're creating, So that
you were
piece
creating it then.
Yeah.
You were creating it back then. You were creating your reality with your dad based on your perception.
Correct.
And then now you're doing the same thing.
Correct.
You're back in the house. You're having the same experience with your dad, but now you're creating a different reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm not living there anymore, obviously, but like, obviously when I was there, it was, that exactly thing, man, where you create the circumstance, the relationship, you know, through forgiveness, bro. That was the portal. That was the portal into rekindling a beautiful, loving, harmonious relationship, with my dad and my brother as well. Yeah.
And when you're aware that you're creating your own reality, then you're aware that when you're going through the adversity that you're creating it. So when you have that awareness, it's like, oh, all these things are going wrong. I'm obviously creating it. What am I doing? Life has this complex algorithm.
That's a fucking touchy subject. That's not touchy, but like we spoke about this the other day. And like, yes, you're creating your experience 100%, but I think that sometimes God creates experiences for you to grow. I feel like there's a fine line. I agree 110% you're creating, because like I've been through things that I'm like, I'm pretty switched on here. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't create this experience. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't, but I'm pretty sure like I'm here to grow.
But yeah, you're creating it through the person that you want to become.
Yes.
Through the person you want to become.
That's exactly where I was going. That's exactly what I'm saying. I asked for things. And the person that I wanted to be, right? So essentially it comes back to, yes, I'm asking for things for myself that are like next level. And I understand in order for me to get there, I need to have these experiences. So although might not feel like, I'm like, man, I'm fucking working on myself here. I'm pretty fucking like, you know, and you're like, why did I even like go through that? I'm like, okay, because it's who it's making me become.
Preparing you for
who
something.
I'm becoming in that situation. I ask God for patience. He gives me some fucked up situations to be patient in, you know? And I feel like that's, I guess it goes back to like, you're right. You are creating your reality through who you are trying to become.
I think it's like, I'm not going to, don't quote me on this, but a 50-50 split. Between like the relationship between like, God's plan and the action you're taking and what you're asking for, you know, that's the dance, you know. I don't think it's one way or the other way.
And again, it's all like your perception of it and my perception of it. As long as it's like serving you, as long as you use it to serve you, and your story is about service towards like what your purpose is, then it doesn't really matter whether God's creating it or you're creating it. As long as it's the outcome is positive, then whatever your perception is, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you know? There's this great framework. I'll credit Preston Smiles, I believe, was the man that spoke to it. And he's in America. He's an abundance mindset coach, something like that. And he introduced these, like he called, I think it said like 4 levels of consciousness, the framework. And I resonated with it. I thought it was fantastic. So the first level was like to me, as in like this is happening to me, which was the, that's like the victim kind of thing. Like, oh, that happened to me. This happened to me. And then he said, by me was the second level. I did this. I'm creating this. I'm creating that. And then he said, this is happening for me, which was like working like, oh, God put that there for me. Organic reflection story, really, potent through that. Is in alignment with that. And then the last level was this is happening through me. So it's like the channel is now like you're just like harmonious working with God, And I really resonated with that framework, man, of like different levels of relationship to, I guess, your reality and what you're creating.
Yeah, I live my life by that. I think sometimes that, we're never going to have the one out of those 4 mindsets that you just said. Even as the men that we are today, you're still going to experience sometimes the to me. You know what I mean? It depends on how you've woken up, the decisions you made, the stresses, the anxieties, whatever's got, like, we're always different versions of ourselves, And sometimes I really do embody that this is happening through me. And there are things in my life that are happening that I know are definitely happening through me. Way bigger than something that I can control, you know?
Would you call that like a calling or something like
Yeah,
that?
definitely a calling. I would say that there's things that, you know, that's ultimately like, I feel like I've lived, you know, my whole life to get to the point where maybe around 6 months ago, I started to realize that everything was happening through me, you know, and I can't fully embody it and hold the mindset the whole time, but most of the time I do. But I still think that things are happening for me, and I still think that things are happening. Very rarely do I think things are happening to me now, but in the day-to-day minutes or seconds, yes, you do hold that perspective, but it's about how you get out of it. You know,
you said it before, perspective and your ability to move through it or shift the perspective when it's there and it's happening and you're aware of it.
And sometimes it's if you say it properly, things are happening to me. There's a different perspective of that too. Things are happening to me. Yeah, it's happening because I did this, and you can look at it in a good way. It's because like it's the cause and reaction. Like, so it's happening to me because I did this, and looking at that too. You know, like trying to understand. But I think for me, the best way to look at things is things are happening for you. I think that's kind of like what I always say. Things are happening for me. That's what I've completely embodied, and I feel like that's just my 24/7 thing.
Yeah.
Things are happening for me.
Especially for the day-to-day work, all that. Everything's happening for us. Like, and it is. And it's the best perspective to have.
I agree, 100%.
On back to like just quickly, before we spoke about like free will, you know, and then there's the law of determinism. And then that's a whole nother thing that says that they've found that the neuron fires before we even have the thought. You know, so it's like that starts to make you think, oh, maybe we don't have free will. But whether we do or we don't have free will, we have the choice to have a perspective. And different perspectives give you a better quality of life, just in general. So when you look at those two things, the perspective of knowing that we have free will or thinking we do have free will is the better perspective that's going to give you a better quality of life in the whole algorithm of us creating our own reality, you know? So ultimately, like, just stick to the fact that, you know, the perception of we do have free will and embody that. Then nothing else needs to exist, whether it is or it isn't, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's all for time.
Thanks,
I
Pipa.
love you so much.
You're welcome. That was great.
You're a legend. That was actually fantastic, bro. Thank you so much.
You.